various activities in which the Civilian Conservation Corps is engaged, none affects the national welfare more than does the work done to control erosion. Experts tell us that 35 million acres of our cultivated lands have been practically washed away. Beside filling reservoirs and irrigation ditches, this great mass of fertile soil washed into our streams and rivers swells the volume of floods and increases their damage. Controlling erosion is therefore one means of controlling floods. These scenes show how washing has ruined southern cotton land, once rich and productive. This extensive waste of national wealth is due largely to human ignorance and carelessness. This virgin forest forms its own protective cover against erosion. The thick blanket of rotting leaves and needles and matted roots checks the runoff and prevents the soil from washing. Logging operations improperly conducted may destroy this forest cover and lay the soil open to the erosive action of flood water. Clearing land for farm use has much the same effect as logging because it destroys the natural cover that protects the virgin soil. Extensive erosion has been caused by clearing of land that is too steep for farming. The results of such ill-advised clearing is shown here. Single crop farming is one practice that leads to great loss of soil by erosion. Whenever a crop like cotton is grown on the same land year after year without the use of cover crops, the land becomes increasingly subject to erosion. This is a common sight in cotton ground. Highway culverts built with no regard to the lay of the land also cause erosion. Still another, and in many regions a major factor, is the practice of burning off annually both fields and woodlands. Fires destroy humus in the soil and thus make way for the cutting action of running water. Each year, 100,000 acres of American farmlands are rendered worthless by erosion. Not only worthless, in many cases the land as farmland ceases to exist. Fields below eroded areas frequently are ruined by sand washed down from above. Homes are often undermined by gullies. This is not an unusual sight in badly eroded areas. Here is a rural graveyard doomed to destruction by erosion. It is perched on the edge of an abyss into which it must surely fall before many years have passed. In the last stage of destruction by erosion, we have enormous gashes in the surface of the earth. Beginning with an innocent-looking furrow, these gullies become larger with every rain, branching out finger-like and eating their way into the countryside like cancers, swallowing up everything in their paths. The great gully at Lumpkin, Georgia, of which the abyss seen here is but a small portion, was started by the drip from a barn roof. It is now 9 miles long, enclosing a system of gorges 200 and more feet deep, and 70,000 acres of land have been washed away or covered up with sand. It is to prevent the recurrence of such destruction that the Civilian Conservation Corps has undertaken erosion control work in various badly eroded areas. It is a big job, but not hopeless. Even gullies like this may be controlled, but the land is now beyond reclamation for farming, forever a monument to man's carelessness. In many areas where terracing is practiced, the members of the Corps build dams to check and prevent erosive action of the runoff from the terraces. This scene shows Conservation Corps boys excavating for the foundation of such a check dam. We see them laying the foundations of the wall and apron in stone and cement. Native stone is used in this case because it is the cheapest material available. The final operation in this construction is the building of wings to direct floodwater over the dam. In Texas is this farmstead, which was threatened with destruction by a gully. The action of this gully was stopped by check dams, and the farmstead saved. The gully started in an old lane. Here we see a long terrace during a torrential rain, showing a check dam discharging at the end of the terrace on an apron of masonry. Another series of well-built check dams photographed at the same time. No erosive action here, but just look at this. Across the road at the same moment, an open ditch without such dams was swept by a raging torrent, carrying a burden of rich Texas soil toward the Gulf of Mexico. In the southeastern states, in the section known as the Piedmont country, check dams are built of the native timber. After the logs have been put in place and the supporting stakes have been driven, an apron is made of straw and brush to take the impact of water flowing over the dam. The apron is staked down, the earth about it is tamped hard, and the dam is completed. After one rain of the gully washer type, these dams may be almost filled with trapped silt, and the slow process of reclamation of the gully is well begun. The upper portion of this large gully has been treated with adequate check dams and its sides sloped to facilitate the catch of vegetation. The final step in the reclamation of the gully is the planting of suitable trees and vines to protect the sides from washing. This scene shows C.C.C. boys planting black locust seedlings. Black locust is a hardy, rapid-growing tree with an extensive root system and is very well adapted for this purpose. Another very useful cover plant is the Japanese honeysuckle. This vine now grows wild throughout the southern seaboard, and plantings are easily obtained almost anywhere. Here we see a group of boys planting honeysuckle on the side of a gully. A planting of black locust showing the size of the seedlings used. This was a large and rapidly growing gully before it was properly sloped and planted. Just how effective planting of black locust may be is shown by this stand of 4-year-old locust in western Tennessee. 4 years after dams were built and seedlings planted, the reclamation of this gully is well advanced. The material of the original brush dam is now rotted, but grass has gained a foothold in the soil anchored by the roots of the locust trees, and erosion is checked. Thus, this great work of checking erosion goes forward. In some instances, operations of considerable magnitude are involved, as, for example, in the reclamation of the Great Hamer Gully in Mississippi. This gully, started only 40 years ago, is now 3,000 feet long, 215 feet wide, and 75 feet deep. Over 12 million cubic feet of earth have been washed from this one-time prosperous farm. Sand many feet deep now covers large areas at the mouth of this big Hamer Gully. All these trees are dead, smothered by sand. The C.C.C. undertakes the job of stopping the advance of the Great Hamer Gully. Here we see hay and brush for check dam work being thrown down the side of the Hamer Gully. This scene gives some idea of the depth and magnitude of this so-called gully. It is more properly a canyon. Check dam construction practiced here differs in detail from that which we have already seen. Hay and brush are used to form the apron and face of the dam. Stakes are driven to anchor the brush and to serve as a skeleton for the structure. Then chicken wire is stretched from stake to stake across the gully, and a mat of brush is packed against this fence on the upper side. Here the workmen are anchoring the apron, placing the brush against the wire barrier, and putting the finishing touches on the dam. When the check dams have been finished, the edges of the gully on both sides are mined with dynamite. And then the blast. Hundreds of tons of earth are thrown into the gully by a series of shots that effectually begin the work of sloping off the sides preparatory to planting. Immediately the boys begin the work of completing by hand the job roughed out by the dynamite. These well-seasoned boys, rolling her down with bar and shovel, present a striking battle scene. With the spirit of crusaders for conservation, these boys are slowly healing the scars caused by years of carelessness.